Sit right there.
I'll tell you, I got mic fright, so.
Huh?
I have mic fright, so
Oh.
I'm doing my best.
You'll be fine. You're the expert at what you do. You know all the stuff. I don't know anything. So I'm just going to ask you the leading questions, and you just go from there. Say what you feel comfortable with. I'm not. You're recording it, so you'll get held for slander. I won't.
I guess I'll wait on that.
Yeah, we got about a minute. That's a directional mic, so you have to talk right into it.
Okay.
If you want to sit back in your chair and be relaxed, just pull that whole thing to
Okay.
Just grab all the black part, pull it all the way to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. Let's see. How old are you?
I'm 41.
You were 6.
I was at the end of my year 5, but I was close enough to be 6. Everybody said I was 6. My sister was 4.
Okay, you ready? I'm still mad because I didn't get up in time to see it rain. Last night I wanted to dance in the rain, and it rained 40 hundredths of an inch. It's almost a half an inch. So our phone number is 525-3313. It's my pleasure to introduce a young man, Toby Edwards. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Doing well.
He's nervous. He's not used to being radio personality, huh?
That's exactly right.
Toby, you've been Facebooking about a murder.
Correct.
That you have something to do with because it was your mother in 1976.
That's correct.
And I just happened to notice some posts and so forth, and haven't really read very many of them. So I didn't read any of them because I knew you were going to come in, and I wanted to find out firsthand so I don't have questions. Let's go back to the beginning. This is unsolved.
Correct.
Or in essence, it's solved, but somebody's screwing around and won't do something. So let's go back to the beginning. Your mom was a deputy sheriff, worked for Garland County Sheriff's Department.
That's correct.
Okay.
She started in approximately March of 1976. In August of 21st of 76 was the last night I ever saw her. Approximately 6 months later, her skeletal remains were found scattered over Jack Mountain.
Now, was your dad around?
Yes, he was. What happened that night and day, that day, she was trying to get us to stay over at his house because she had some things to do.
Okay, so they were divorced?
They were divorced.
Okay.
They've been divorced since I believe it was 73.
Okay. So it wasn't like yesterday, so there wasn't a big fight between mom and dad?
No.
Okay.
Let's see. He had some things to do, so he said he'd pick us up the next day from church. So she lined it up to where we were going to go to the Sunday school on the Church of the Nazarene on Central Avenue.
And you have a sister. How old is she?
She'll probably kill me if I say it on the air, but she was 4 at that time.
Oh, so she's younger.
So you can add it up.
Yeah.
But
so who stayed with you?
We had just moved from the house we were living on Claremont, and we were staying at a lady's house named Mary Patterson off of Park. She ended up babysitting us that night, but that's where we were staying.
Okay. So you had somebody watching?
Correct.
I mean, mom didn't just say, hey, I'll be back tomorrow?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, later that night, she did come in.
So she went to work?
No, she didn't go to work. She went to go visit the alleged murderer and talk about He, according to reports,
Okay, they were dating?
he was married, so it was more like an affair.
Okay.
She wasn't married. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, she was pregnant, and according to what I've heard and personally heard, the baby's daddy was the alleged murderer, the one who was charged with first-degree murder.
Okay, so there was somebody arrested?
Yes, they were arrested.
What was his name?
Thurman Abernathy.
Thurman, okay. Local person?
Local Hot Springs Police Department.
Hot Springs Police Department.
He was a lieutenant for the HSPD. So they supposedly met later that night. Apparently, well, I know she didn't want to have an abortion. I was there on one of the arguments that they had, and he wanted her to have an abortion, and she didn't.
Okay.
Later that night, my mother dropped us off, my sister, Mary, and I at the movies, and later on that night, after we came home, we caught a taxi cab. I was supposed to be asleep, but I wasn't. My mother came in, and she was asking me, why am I still awake? And like a mom would, and I just perked up and said, well, can I watch TV? You know, just fall asleep. And she told me, yes, just stay in bed, don't get out of bed, just watch TV. So I turned the TV on, and I was hoping for Starsky and Hutch, or, you know, but all I got was Gunsmoke. So that kind of tells me about what time it was when I last saw her. The next morning, I heard some people.
So she went back out that night?
She went back out that night. And that was the very last time I ever saw her again. The next morning, I heard people banging on the front door, and Mary Patterson came to the bedroom door, looked in, and said, where's your mama? I said she never came back. And I could still hear people knocking on the door. And after she had said that, she looked around the room, and she had a worried look on her face. And the people that were knocking on the door, of course, was the Sunday school bus coming to pick us up. Later that day, we ended up over at Sarah Edwards' house, no relation. She was a dispatcher for Troop K back then.
Okay. State Highway Patrol.
And from then on, we ended up being with my father, staying with my father.
And she didn't come home, and you finally sent out a missing report?
Correct. Later that day, she was supposed to go to work that day.
Okay. Didn't show up.
And didn't show up. Several people immediately became concerned because, you know, she wasn't like that.
Right.
According to former Garland County Sheriff Leon Barlow, she was a fine worker, and she just didn't do that, and he became concerned. Everybody knew who was dating who,
right,
and who was seeing who, and so immediately people started, you know, speculating and about what happened. Now her car was found that morning on Highway 290, southeast of town, right off Carpenter Dam Road, and people searched immediately the area and stuff. And
keys in the car and a purse or something? Or?
No, they never found the purse. They never found her badge. They never found her gun. However,
she worked as dispatch?
And she worked dispatch.
And carried a gun?
And carried a gun.
Okay.
She, according to Leon, and I'm not being disrespectful by calling him by his first name, he got on to me for calling him Mr. Barlow, so please, I'm not being disrespectful, but Leon told me that he believes she was one of the, if not the first,
Come up a little closer. Yeah.
the first deputy for, woman deputy for Garland County. So she was allowed to carry a gun. In fact, I have a few memories of the gun because, you know, It was a gun. I was a little kid.
Okay, so she's missing now for 5 months, and nobody knows anything, and everything. And then all of a sudden, somebody finds a body.
Correct. Well, they find the skeletal remains. Some wolf hunters came across some bones off of Jack Mountain, on Jack Mountain, I should say, and they called it in, and they came out, and through dental records, they identified the remains as my mother.
So this is 6 months later.
Correct. I believe it was February 12th of 1977.
Now, how did she die? Do they know?
Yes. According to the actual, it was blunt force trauma to the head.
Okay. You don't have to read it, that's all right.
Okay.
What? So she was hit over the head?
Correct. Not just once, not just twice. Pretty much bludgeoned back of the head.
So that took how long after they found her? And that probably took 3 or 4 weeks or so. Back then, they probably didn't do reports real fast.
As far as what?
Determining what happened.
It was, her remains were sent to the state crime lab, and I'm not for sure exactly how long it took. I'm sure it's in one of the articles I have.
Okay, then where'd it go? Well, after they found her and so forth, then they got a case of murder.
Correct. They ruled it homicide, obviously. I believe he was charged with first-degree murder. And
now, how did that happen? Now, this is also in Jack Mountains in Hot Springs County.
Correct.
So who has jurisdiction?
Well, prior to finding the skeletal remains, Garland County Sheriff's Department
did all the investigation.
Correct, and the Arkansas State Police became involved at the same time.
Okay.
So Garland County was working in conjunction with the state police. Prior to that, during that time, Thurman was questioned quite a bit. From the reports I'm reading and the articles I'm reading, and from the actual people who were at some of the hearings or
investigation.
Correct. He was very reluctant to answer any questions.
Now you're 6 years old this time.
Correct. Now I heard a lot of things, during that time period that I didn't understand what was going on, but it always stuck in the back of my mind, and as I got older, naturally, life tells you what some of the things were meant to say. But he was very reluctant. He was, some people don't remember him being reluctant, but I have news articles. I have first-hand witnesses. Police officers pled the fifth.
And how long did it go on before he was arrested?
Approximately about 5 months, I'd guess.
After the body was found?
After the body was found.
So it's been almost a year now?
Correct. Now at this time, this is mid-77, John W. Cole, he was the prosecutor then, and Judge Means, Henry B. Means, was the judge.
Okay, now this is in Hot Springs County, because
correct.
That's where the body was found.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of people believe that she was dumped where she was found. Right. And if I could find a way to prove that it actually happened in Garland County, I wouldn't have to do anything. Prosecuting attorney Steve Oliver could immediately jump on the case and issue whatever he needs to issue.
We got to take a break. We'll come back in just a minute, find out what happens. He's arrested we'll find out how he was arrested and kind of what happened then. As you can tell, this is still an open case because some things happened that just has left it open, and you're still looking for things. And you've got different crime people, United States-wise, looking at it and trying to get an answer, or and why the body hasn't been what do you say? It's not a Zoom.
Exhumed. Nah, it's not exhumed.
Exhumed. Brought up. You've been trying to do that, and we'll come back in just a moment with KZNG 1340. This is a real case. This is going on right here in Hot Springs, trying to find out what happened. Toby Edwards is my guest. We're talking about his mother who was murdered in 1976. The gentleman was arrested and charged. His name was Abernathy?
Correct.
What's his first name?
Thurman.
Thurman. Okay, the body is found. It goes to the judge, and they get all kinds of stuff.
Correct. Most of the evidence was ruled hearsay or circumstantial. The majority of the hearsay that was ruled inadmissible was simply because they had no proof that Thurman was the father. Something which I feel DNA nowadays can prove who the father was, or
well, sure can.
Even if he wasn't the father, then that's great.
So you can't get the bodies where?
In Garland County, in the Greenwood Cemetery.
Okay, so it's your mom.
Correct.
You can't go down there and pay $2,000 or whatever it costs to have it exhumed. I got the word right.
It's more than $2,000.
Okay.
From what we were told, it's between $5,000 and $10,000.
Okay.
And I would have to have all the money up front and all my ducks lined up in a row from what I was told. Now this was back in 2007 when I was told all this, and I don't even know if I can personally have it exhumed just because it's an open case.
You have to go to Malvern.
No, not necessarily.
I mean, that's who has it, Hot Springs County?
Correct. They have the case.
What do they say? I mean, did you just start getting into this in the last 4 or 5 years?
No, the day that I got into it wholeheartedly, back in 2000, well actually I wanted to do something all along. We lived in California, and when I came back, I went to the library and started looking up articles, but just how I felt, it brought a wide range of emotions upon me, and I didn't know if I could handle it.
So in 2000 you decided?
In 2000 we did THB came down and did a story on it.
Follow-up, kind of open cases?
Correct.
Got about a minute now.
Okay. On August 21st of 2000, I was the exact same age as my mother, one day removed. She was born the 16th of October. My birthday is October 15th. At that point in time, I was selling Medicare supplements. My first appointment actually took me across Jack Mountain. So I'm on the day, that many years later, driving over, and I'm realizing as I'm driving over the mountain that, you know, this was her last day, and I was just kind of in a foggy haze. And my appointment actually took me to an individual who was there, who was in the party, who found my mother's skeletal remains. So I took it as a sign.
Yeah. So then you went after it.
And I went after it. I've had to step away several times just because it's a very difficult thing. It's just difficult.
And we'll come back in the next half hour. Do they talk to you, the police over there? Prosecuting attorney, is he still alive?
The prosecuting attorney, well, there's been a couple of changes in the prosecuting attorney.
And the judge died?
The judge died. He was actually supposed to be, people were lining up to try to remove him from office, and he actually didn't seek re-election.
Okay, we'll come back, find out where the story is now. We'll come 40 years later and find out where we're at. Be back. KZNG 1340, this weekend could be the hottest weekend we've ever had. Could set some records, 104, 105, 106, 107, after we just get some rain. And I'm still mad because I never got to see it, didn't hear it, nothing but there's trees down around town, and we got about 40 hundredths of an inch. Toby Edwards is my guest. There's supposed to be 101 today. His mother was murdered in 1976, and he's investigating and been writing blogs and so forth. If somebody wanted to get the blogs and so forth, are you Facebook? What's the number? Pull that over to you. Talk me through it.
The website is lindaedwards.com.
Okay, lindaedwards.com.
And what I'm doing on Facebook is I'm posting an article a day. I'm trying to do it in chronological order. That way somebody can just follow along instead of going to the website, and because it's kind of a lot of information.
Okay, we're going to move 25 years later. You started in 2000, really starting investigating, and you went to a TV station, did a report, Channel 12, or Channel 11.
Channel 11.
And then also a nationwide television show said, hey, we'll pay all the stuff.
Correct.
We'll look it up.
Approximately in 2004, Channel 8, actually 2005, A&E, Channel A&E's Cold Cases, emails us and tells us that she's interested in speaking with us about the case. So we sent her a synopsis of the case. She agreed that for the story that she would pay for the exhumation, everything. They just wanted to do the story.
Hot Springs County prosecuting attorney won't let you do it.
Apparently, according to what the A&E Cold Cases told us, she essentially just got the runaround. She had spoken with them a couple of times, but I believe that particular show on that channel is now defunct. So,
but there's another. What's his name? The guy whose son was disappeared and found murdered. Welch or Winch, or aren't you going after writing a letter to that guy that does the nationwide one?
The America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
I've been turned down twice from him. The first time I never received a response back, so I wrote again after I saw him advertising on the TV for news stories, and I asked them, point blank, you're advertising for stories and I'm sending them in, and I don't hear anything. So then at that time they wrote back and said they apologized, they get thousands of submissions and so forth. So right now on Facebook they have they're doing the same thing, advertising for more stories. And this time up front they're telling people, they
get 1,000 a day.
Right.
So don't.
Right.
We're sorry. Now, what about Larry Sanders? Has he been involved with this? Is our sheriff here?
Correct. He is. He issued, I forget what the exact day it was, but this year he has offered a $1,000 reward. He's also put my mother's case on their unsolved website page. And my family really appreciates it. I can't say enough.
Why can't he can't investigate?
He can't, because it's in Hot Spring County jurisdiction. If there was a way that I could just pull this case back over into Garland County, I would.
You can't find out if she was murdered here or dumped there.
We have to have proof. We have to have proof. Since the skeletal remains were found in Hot Spring County, they have jurisdiction.
Okay. Hold on, let's take a phone call real fast. Good morning, on KZNG 1340, B&A Heating and Air Hotline. Right? No, he was released, right?
They dropped charges because all evidence was deemed, well, the majority of the evidence was deemed hearsay or circumstantial.
Yeah. Okay. But it was also known that this particular judge had a revolving door. If you paid him enough money, things went through.
That's what, that was an editorial cartoon in the Malvern Daily Record. I have a buddy who's looking for that editorial cartoon, and also if he can't find it, I will be doing my research to find it.
Go to Malvern and sit there with their microfilm and look it up. So where are you at right now? Your mom's been murdered. It's been 35, 40 years. You're no closer now than you were before.
I'm in a padded room with a straitjacket on, handcuffed, begging and pleading for someone to do something.
You think there's witnesses out there, or people that know what happened?
Yes.
There's friends of this gentleman that know what happened.
Correct. If you look at the blog or the website, there is, every now and then, I do an off the hook and a dear sir, and that is to one individual. It is not to the person who was convicted, but it is to a person that I know without a shadow of a doubt that he knows what happened. I was in the house when my mother found out she was pregnant, and she was very upset. And this gentleman, and I'm saying that term loosely, but this gentleman came over, and she was so upset that I could hear pretty much plainly what was being said down the hall in the living room. She was on the other side of the house, and I know without a shadow of a doubt he told her, or she told him, that she was pregnant, and he said who by whom, and I heard her say who she was pregnant by. This gentleman got angry with me or upset with me as he was coming out because I was trying to protect my mother. I was a little 5-year-old kid, and I told him to quit making my mother cry. Later on, I realized, remembering that it really wasn't him who was making her cry. She was just upset about the situation. But he whipped me that day, and I know he remembers it. And if he doesn't, well, I'm helping him with him remember. And I know he reads the Facebook pages. I know without a shadow of a doubt he does. And this is directed right toward him. And I wish he would just come forward. Maybe somebody, I can't make a plea bargain with him for him. He has to come forward with the information. That was his partner, and his partner put him in that position. And really and truly, he should be ticked off because his partner put him in that position. And to ease his mind and to ease his conscience, and to be able to look at himself in the mirror every single day, know he did the right thing, he really just needs to come forward.
Now, did both these people, were they officers afterwards, or did they resign, or did get fired, or what?
At first, one of them stayed a police officer. He was out. He escaped the limelight.
That's the partner.
That's the partner.
Okay.
Thurman was suspended eventually. At first, he wasn't, even though everybody knew what was going on. But eventually, when he was charged with first-degree murder, he was suspended, and he was kept on suspension until all the charges were essentially dropped, and then he was readmitted onto the force, and then they resigned quickly. And that was essentially that. The other partner stayed on the police force. He was eventually promoted to something else and
retired.
Correct.
Okay. So right now you're just hoping somebody says something.
Correct.
And trying to still get the body raised up. I still don't understand if your kid it's your mom's and you don't have control of the body, but I guess you don't. Is she buried here in town?
Correct, Greenwood Cemetery. I'm just told one of the excuses that I was told was the sanctity of the grave, which, okay, that's fine and dandy, but the articles, the newspaper articles that I'm reading, especially from '79, people were exhumed left and right back then. It seemed like a lot of prisoners were, and
of course, it costs you a ton of money to find an attorney to take this thing up and go after it.
If you can even find one.
That would do it.
Correct. Now we do have an attorney who's really pushing forward, trying to push this into the limelight as much as possible. He's allowing me to post on a Facebook group, Remembering Hot Springs.
Can you name who it is?
Bill Wisely.
Okay.
And
okay, Bill, you listen to this show. Get off your butt and let's do something. Come on.
He's allowing me to post, and we really appreciate it. We really do. I'd like to thank everyone really and truly for their support and their encouragement throughout this whole thing. And I know my uncle isn't listening, but I still want to publicly thank him. He's my Uncle Tony. Most folks know him as Roy Oker Jr., but to me, he's my Uncle Tony. He and his family sacrificed a tremendous amount.
How do they get a hold of you?
On the website, there's a link called Contact Information.
Okay. Well, what's your phone number? So if somebody's listening wants to call you, they can. 262-1161. Okay, and it's under Toby Edwards if they wanted to Facebook you and friend you?
Correct. The Facebook page is Linda Edwards, and there's also a group called Remember, I can't remember the whole name of it, Remember Hot Spring County murder of in 1976. It's on the Linda Edwards page.
Okay. Well, good luck, young man. You and your sister. If there's anything we can do, and if you find out more information, don't hesitate to call me and come back and we'll talk some more about it.
Okay.
This is something that's going on. You don't, you know, I'm sure this happens all over the world, all over the United States, you know, but this is happening right here. The young man's trying to find out what happened to his mom 30 years ago and getting stonewalled everywhere he turns. So if you can help, or you have any information, or you know a way around something to be able to get something done, you know somebody in Hot Springs County, you know the prosecuting attorney over there, or the district attorney, or state, you know, whatever, give Toby a call, 262-1161. I would think 40 years later, it's time to figure out what the hell happened.
Or they can call the Garland County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah. And talk to Larry Sanders or to the officers over there. And I'll call Larry and say, hey, where are we at? What are we doing? All right, we'll be back. Don't forget, we're going to give away a half-off Hot Springs to Mid-American Science Museum in just a little bit. Hopefully you tune in and listen. And again, thank you for making KZNG 1340 the #1 AM station in Hot Springs. The Arbitron numbers just came back. US 97 is just blowing and going. It's the #1 station, period. Hot 96 is good. The Bull numbers went up 4 times. So if you like classic country, old stuff, 104.5, 96.7, 101.9, 1340, and 96.7 the 5 station. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. Toby, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Man.
That was easy. That's an hour.
Yeah, well.
Goes by in a hurry.
Yeah, it did, but that's, you know, that's fine. Wow.
Well, it'd be nice if somebody called and something happened.
Well, yes.
You know, the chance of that happening is probably slim to none, but
yeah.
Hell, it hadn't happened in 30 years. So.
Well, we actually, you know, just like today's article that I posted, after all those articles came out in Arkansas Times and in the Sentinel, we did have a captain of the Garland County Reserves back then. He came forward with new information. This is back in '07, but nothing's happened with that information either. So,
okay. Good luck.
Well, I appreciate it.
Hey, no trouble.
Get this.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you got the camera.